Revenge Films.
I'm Shindo Renji, an 18-year-old high school senior. That day, I was taking a university entrance exam, so I traveled to an unfamiliar city 3 stops away. After successfully finishing the exam, I was heading back to my hometown by bus. About 2 stations past the exam venue, a woman in a white coat boarded. Following her, a hunched-over elderly woman and high school students in unfamiliar uniforms also boarded the bus, one after another. Then, just as the bus doors were about to close, an otaku-looking man, sweating and out of breath, rushed on. That said, this area was fairly rural, so the inside of the bus was still pretty empty. However, just as I was thinking I could relax on my way home, the woman in the coat who had boarded first suddenly spoke to me.
Excuse me, is the seat next to you available?
Honestly, I thought there are plenty of other empty seats, but this woman was a refined, beautiful, black-haired woman with an elegant appearance. To be frank, she was exactly my type. If beauty like this was willing to sit next to me, then even if I failed the university exam, coming all this way would have been worth it. Please, go ahead. I'll move over a bit.
No, I'd actually prefer the window seat if possible.
Hey, isn't that a bit presumptuous just because you're beautiful? Sure, the window seat at the back of the bus has a certain special feeling, but I was here first. If you want to look out the window that badly, you should sit on the other side. Unfortunately, that side faces the oncoming traffic lane and doesn't have much of a view. That thought lasted only a minute, and I immediately decided to give up the sidewalk side window seat to the woman. I mean, she was incredibly beautiful. There was no way I could refuse. In fact, I was hoping to use this opportunity to get to know her, and then maybe things would develop into something more. I was expecting some kind of dating game scenario, but the woman didn't say a single word. Well, I guess that makes sense. A beauty like this wouldn't be interested in a kid like me. But then, I couldn't understand why she specifically chose to sit next to me. About 10 minutes later, the bus stopped for about 5 minutes to adjust its schedule. During that time, the woman next to me was looking down and trembling. Was she cold? I thought the heating was working properly, though. So I looked toward the front to ask the driver to turn the heat up a bit, but then I noticed someone repeatedly glancing in our direction. It was that otaku-looking guy who had rushed onto the bus at the last minute. The woman next to me seemed to notice him too, and the moment their eyes met... I mean, yeah, he's a bit creepy, but you didn't have to react like that. Then the next moment, the otaku suddenly stood up and started walking toward us. Is he worried about this woman? Wait, but it kind of feels like he's challenging me. Hey! Who the hell are you to Kaori? Huh? Kaori? Is he talking about this trembling person next to me? And who am I? I mean, we just met. I was momentarily frozen, unable to grasp the situation, when Kaori-san, the trembling woman next to me, whispered something quietly.
Actually, I've been stalked by that man. Could you pretend to be my boyfriend for now?
Seriously? Okay, I got it. I'll do what I can. I didn't have time to hear the details back then, but I vaguely understood that Kaori streams videos as a hobby. I often hear about these kind of streamers having some pretty crazy fanatical fans, and the otaku in front of me seemed to be the worst kind. I learned these details later, but before Kaori got on the bus, she had encountered this otaku in front of her apartment building. After being persistently approached, he grabbed her arm and tried to drag her away. she barely escaped with her life and fled onto this bus. Well, if that's the situation, I guess I have to help her out. Who are you? Are you Kaori's boyfriend? Yeah, so what? Who are you anyway? I'm Kaori's fiancé. I won't forgive this cheating. I glanced at Kaori's face for confirmation, and she was vigorously shaking her head. I forced my exam-exhausted brain into overdrive to assess the situation. I see. So this guy is the type of dangerous fan who can't distinguish between reality and video content. In that case, provoking him too much would be dangerous. I don't really understand the situation, but Kaori is uncomfortable, so could you back off for today? You called Kaori by her first name? Ah! The otaku's scream made every passenger on the bus turn to look at us. Even the driver couldn't ignore this commotion, so he left his seat and approached us. Sir, I'm sorry, but you're disturbing the other passengers. Shut up! Shut up! Mind your own business! But sir, I said shut up! Are you trying to get in the way of my love life too? Saying that, the otaku shoved the driver, but the driver wasn't going to take that lying down. The otaku was restrained in a hold by the driver and was promptly thrown out of the bus. After that, since getting off right there would be dangerous, we continued a bit further before getting off the bus. By the way, we were already near my hometown by then, so I decided to get off with Kaori. Well, honestly, I just didn't want to part ways with Kaori yet. We talked for about 20 minutes while waiting for the next bus, and it turned out Kaori was a senior at the university I planned to attend. What's more, we were in the same department and interested in the same club. There was no way the conversation wouldn't get exciting. So those 20 minutes waiting for the bus flew by in no time, and just as I looked up thinking the bus should arrive soon, there was that otaku speeding down the opposite lane on a moped. From the fact that he wasn't wearing a helmet, he probably stole it from someone who left it running with the engine on. I found you! This is bad! He's chasing us! We need to run!
What? But the bus isn't here yet.
The area around us only had scattered houses with no convenience stores or buildings we could immediately duck into. I rang the doorbell of a nearby house, but there was no response. The guy might be an otaku, but he was twice my size and built like a tank. If it came to a physical fight, I'd probably be the one to lose. If he caught up to us, we'd be done for. Just as we were about to give up, what reached our ears was the sound of the moped the otaku was riding being hit by a truck. When we hurriedly turned around, the otaku was lying on the ground alongside the completely mangled moped. Apparently, he tried to change lanes on this busy highway without checking left or right. Of course, since the otaku crashed into the truck himself, the truck driver was 0% at fault. Immediately after, the panicked truck driver rushed over to the otaku, but... he could only groan. Looking closely, both his legs were completely crushed. Apparently, when the truck hit him, his legs got caught under the tires. Well, it looks like he won't be able to chase Kaori around anymore. Thanks to that, the scene turned into absolute chaos. The screams of people who had just witnessed someone getting hit by a car and the screams of the driver who hit the otaku echoed through the area. But at least his life wasn't in danger, and the otaku was taken to the hospital in the ambulance called by the truck driver. However, Even in this situation, his obsession with Kaori hadn't disappeared. Now that I look, the guy is wearing a high school uniform. You two aren't really dating, are you?
Well?
Then I still have a chance! I'm not giving up yet! When the otaku said that, Kaori suddenly clung to my arm.
It's true that we were just acting at first, but I've actually fallen for this person.
Ah! What are you saying? What's so good about some kid like that?
He's kind and a good person. He'll be my junior at university, so let's get along well.
Yes, same here. So while Kaori and I were being all lovey-dovey, the otaku was loaded onto a stretcher into the ambulance. Though he immediately received treatment at the hospital, his legs never fully recovered, and he ended up in a wheelchair for life. By the way, that otaku was apparently from another prefecture, and in that accident the truck driver had no fault, so he didn't receive any medical expenses or compensation. Plus, he got hit with a pretty hefty fine for driving without a license. In any case, there's no way he could stalk anyone again in that condition. As for Kaori, she stopped streaming videos after this incident. Because of that, the otaku became hated by other fans, and now he's apparently the one being stalked by them. About a year after that incident, Kaori and I became a couple. Not because of that incident specifically, but we gradually grew closer after I entered university. But still, if that incident hadn't happened, I probably wouldn't have gotten close to Kaori. So I'm actually a bit grateful to that otaku. Putting your body on the line to play Cupid for your favorite streamer? He's truly a model fan, isn't he? Just kidding.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.